generally I would look at those, and I would always feel comfortable to advocate for changes, whether it's increases or decreases or cessations of medications. I'm definitely for that. And then
you got to come from a place of experience and knowledge of what it is. Don't be going in, oh, he wants to get off medication, so he shouldn't have to take it. Because then you set up for like a terrible relationship with that GP.
Yeah, but you also may not have the capacity to have a relationship with the GP depending on where you work. I was lucky to work in small towns where the relationships were easy and you met with them and you saw them often, but in cities it can be really difficult. So if you are going to be advocating for a client to lower or change dose or something like that, you've got to go in with your big swag of information as to why, or at least attempt to contact them if you can't get through it like with a letter, and know why. You know, not just, oh, the client wants to reduce it. Like, yeah, okay, but why were they on it in the first place?
And definitely don't go in demanding. You can recommend, but at the end of the day, the doctor is control of that.
So, big one for me I always looked at, or I always do look at, would be statins. For the most part, they tend to be poorly monitored by GPs. Once they start on a statin, they don't modify them unless they have a second heart attack or another cardiovascular event. They'll just increase it. I look at it merely from a intervention point of view. In practice, I get referred clients, and I previously did in another life, for cholesterol management, and a lot of them would be on a statin. In terms of what my intervention is going to be, it's really hard as a practitioner to know exactly what their response is when they're on statins. You're still going to get a response, but actually getting a reasonably real and accurate response while someone's on statins is really difficult. So I tend to look on those as a point of advocacy. So sometimes a client might be on a statin, they want to get off it, and so therefore my interventions for that client might change.
Once graduating from a nutritional dietetics degree, what is the best way to get a job in the industry? Start your own online business or work in hospitals or the community side of things?
Well, it would be actually get a job. I mean, that's dreams of grandeur, really. All three of those are perfectly fine. What's the best way to get a job is actually apply for all of them, anything and all of the things. In all of the locations possibly. Then you're guaranteed to probably at least put yourself up a little bit higher in terms of other people that are not applying for everything. And then if you're struggling, just keep going at it, and make sure you do heaps of work experience in the background, either at uni or whilst you're waiting for that job.
Are there any pathology markers dietitians should consider when assessing a client's bone health? When assessing client bone health?
Pathology markers. Yeah, I mean, look, you could look at serum calcium. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's an adequate amount of calcium, but it might mean that there's an excessive turnover of bone. Just because if there is a high level of calcium, there could be changes to the storage and accumulation of calcium within the bones. Outside of that, not really that you should be monitoring. But you could look at states of malnutrition, maybe albumin as a marker, maybe protein status, but outside of those two, no, not really. I would just be monitoring the bone scan, so make sure you do that regularly, because that's pretty much your best indicator there's improvement or reduction in bone integrity.
Yeah, shake it up.
New grads.
Just top tips for preparing for interviews.
Preparing, I would study the company, find something that's unique that you can, attach yourself to, something that you believe in, maybe a unique trait about the company or the people that you're being interviewed by. And then outside of that, chill out, be yourself. And if it's not a face-to-face interview, make sure there's no background noise, nobody knowing you, because it can be really detracting away from the actual interview.
All right, honeymoon period with Lada. Is there one?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, because it tends to pretty much go boom, boom.
Yeah, but there's a slight honeymoon period, right?
Yeah, like all things with diabetes, the body can cope to a point.
Yeah.
But it will generally coincide with maybe other stresses that are going on in the body just can't tolerate it anymore.
This is where I think it becomes the misdiagnosed though. So they get diabetes and they through this honeymoon period, then that's their diagnosis. No one then rechecks and go, oh shit, you actually got type 1.
Yeah.
Type 3. It's not type 3, by the way. It's not at all. Don't ever say that.
No. So someone that has PCOS with insulin resistance, metformin. Someone that has fasting sugars that are elevated, doesn't have diabetes, they might shove them on metformin. Anyone that has diabetes will be on metformin. And you can increase the dose quite a lot before you actually really get anywhere with
Yeah, some of the
modifying it.
doses are nuts.
Yeah. So I would look at it merely because if someone's presenting to me and they're not really well controlled with their diabetes and they're on 500 milligrams of metformin, I'm like, okay, cool, so why haven't we increased this? Or if you've got someone that has
Doubles that.
lost weight, improved their sugars, why are they still on metformin? Someone that is active and they have lost weight, why are they still on metformin? You have someone with PCOS that doesn't have insulin resistance and is just being shoved on metformin. Or you've got someone that's presenting with a lot of gut issues and they're on metformin, you're like, maybe we need to get them off metformin.